He was a billionaire who had everything except peace. She was a 5-year-old girl holding a puzzle and a question no adult was ready to answer. When their worlds quietly collided, one choice would decide whether money could heal what love once abandoned. At 3 a.m., Chicago glittered like a cold promise, beautiful from far away, indifferent up close. Declan Sterling closed his laptop and watched the screen go dark as if the whole city had just blinked. Another contract, another win, another number too big to mean anything. The kind of money that used to feel like freedom now felt like wallpaper. He crossed the penthouse, barefoot, marble chilled beneath his feet. Art hung on the walls like trophies, a painting he'd bought because someone told him it was rare, a sculpture he'd paid for because he could. Everything was flawless. Everything was silent. His phone buzzed. A message from someone famous, a bright emoji, an invitation that sounded like laughter but read like a transaction. Declan stared at it, then placed the phone face down. He wasn't angry. He was empty. Like the part of him that used to reach back had been boxed up and stored somewhere he couldn't remember. He turned on the television for noise, wars, weather, smiling faces selling things he didn't need. He muted it. The silence returned anyway. On the coffee table sat a stack of magazines his assistant had arranged perfectly, as if neat corners could keep loneliness from spilling out. Time, Forbes, Bloomberg, and a small local weekly he would have ignored until a photo stopped his hand. A 5-year-old girl with dark curls and a gap-toothed smile held a clear bag of crushed cans like it was treasure. Her cheeks were pink from winter air. Her eyes were bright in a way that felt unfair, like hope hadn't gotten the memo about reality. The headline read, "5-year-old Junie collects cans to help her mom breathe easier." Declan's chest tightened. He didn't know why. He only knew he couldn't turn the page. Declan read every line like it was pulling him forward by the collar. Junie Quinn, 5 years old, woke up early and helped her mom with tiny safe things, bringing water, picking a storybook, setting a blanket on the couch. Not adult responsibilities, just the kind of kindness a child gives when she loves someone. After school, Junie collected recyclable cans, never alone, never late, never anywhere unsafe. The article made that clear. The neighborhood watched out for her. The grocery store saved bags for her. Neighbors waved from porches. An older woman down the street walked with her when the sidewalk got busy. People didn't treat Junie like a problem. They treated her like a promise. Her mom, Briar Quinn, was a single parent with a serious lung condition. The piece didn't dramatize it. It described it gently, how Briar got tired quickly, how medical costs stacked up, how pride and love lived in the same tight space. Declan paused at a quote, "Junie thinks recycling is helping me fly," Briar said, smiling between careful breaths. Declan blinked hard. That sentence wasn't sad. It was hopeful, so hopeful it hurt. Then his eyes landed on the neighborhood name, Hawthorne Row. The air in his throat turned thin. Hawthorne Row wasn't a place he donated to. It was a place he survived. A place he'd escaped so completely, he'd trained himself to stop remembering. A place he hadn't spoken of in 10 years, like saying it out loud, might summon a version of him he couldn't stand to face. Declan's fingers trembled as he flipped the page. A faded porch, an old yard tree, a small house with paint the color of tired skies. His vision tunneled, because he knew that porch. He knew that tree. He knew that address like you know the taste of your own childhood, and suddenly his penthouse felt like a lie. Declan stood up so fast, the magazine slid off his knees. He didn't breathe for a second. He just stared at the photo of Junie, those bright eyes, that brave smile like the girl had reached through paper and grabbed something inside him he thought was gone. He grabbed his phone. Text to assistant, cancel the next 2 days. Personal matter. No exceptions. He didn't dress like a billionaire. No tailored suit. No watch that cost more than a car. No driver. Jeans. A plain jacket. Sneakers. The kind of clothes that didn't announce anything. In the lobby, the night guard looked up confused, like he couldn't reconcile this quiet man with the face on magazine covers. Declan gave a small nod that said, "Don't ask." Outside the city was still dark streetlights reflecting off wet pavement. Chicago breathed winter through its teeth. Declan's car moved out of downtown, past glowing towers, past places where people paid for comfort, without ever needing courage. As he drove, the skyline shrank behind him, and something else grew louder: memory. A corner store he used to walk to with his mother. A laundromat sign that felt familiar in shape even if the name had changed. The brick school building that looked smaller than it used to. Or maybe he'd just gotten too far away to see it clearly. He parked a block from the address and walked. Not because he had to, because walking felt like confession. Each step cracked open a piece of the man he'd built. He turned the corner, and there it was, Hawthorne Row, unchanged in all the ways that made his stomach twist. The faded porch, the old yard tree, the house where his past had been waiting quiet and stubborn, as if it had never stopped believing he'd come back. The front door opened with a soft creak. A small figure stepped out carefully, as if the morning itself might be fragile. Junie Quinn wore a bright knit hat pulled low over her curls and a jacket one size too big. In her hands, she carried a clear bag with a few crushed aluminum cans that clinked gently when she moved. She paused on the porch, scanning the quiet street the way children do, curious, alert, unafraid. Then she saw Declan. Her face lit up instantly, not with fear, but with recognition of something safe. "Hi," she called, waving enthusiastically. "Do you have any cans?" Declan froze. He had negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking, but this simple, hopeful question emptied his chest of air. Not right now," he said softly. Junie nodded, unfazed. "That's okay. If you find some later, you can save them. My mom says every little thing helps." Declan crouched slightly, keeping a respectful distance. "You're Junie, right?" Her eyes widened. "How do you know my name?" "I read about you," he said. "You're helping a lot of people smile." Junie considered that seriously. "I'm just helping my mom," she said. Then, lowering her voice like it was a secret, she added, "She gets tired easy." Something tightened painfully in Declan's chest. He reached into his pocket without thinking, then stopped. Money suddenly felt loud, wrong, clumsy. Instead, he asked, "Can I walk with you for a minute?" Junie thought about it. Then she nodded. "Okay, but not too far." "Mom worries." Declan smiled faintly. "That means she loves you." Junie smiled back, proud. "She does." Before Junie could take another step, the door opened again. A woman stood in the doorway, calm, pale, steady. She leaned lightly against the frame, conserving energy without drawing attention to it. Her eyes moved first to Junie, then to Declan, sharp and protective. "Junie," she said gently but firmly. "Sweetheart," inside for a second. Junie obeyed immediately, slipping past her mother and peeking back with curiosity. The woman closed the door behind her. Time slowed. Declan recognized her before his mind could stop him. "Briar," he said, barely audible. Her lips parted. "Declan." 10 years collapsed into a single breath. "What are you doing here?" Briar asked. Her tone wasn't angry. It was guarded, like someone who'd learned the cost of unanswered questions. "I saw the article," Declan said. "And the address." Briar's jaw tightened slightly. "You read a magazine and decided to show up, so no?" He replied quietly. "I read a life and realized I never left it." Silence stretched between them, heavy but controlled. "You shouldn't be here," Briar said at last. "I know," Declan admitted. That answer caught her off guard. Before she could respond, Declan asked the question he'd been holding back, voice trembling despite his effort. "My mother, is she?" Briar's eyes softened just for a moment. "Declan," she said gently, "you should sit down." His heart dropped. "I don't need to sit," he said quickly. Briar looked at him with something like sorrow. "Yes," she said. "You really do. Declan didn't sit. He couldn't." Briar stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind her, keeping Junie safely inside, away from words meant for adults. "You disappeared," Briar said quietly. "No calls, no letters, nothing." Declan swallowed. "I didn't know how to come back." Briar shook her head. She waited anyway. The words landed softly and shattered him. "Marisol passed away," Briar said. 5 years ago." Declan blinked once, then again, as if his body needed proof. "No," he whispered. "She tried to find you," Briar continued, not accusing, just telling the truth. "She didn't want money. She wanted her son." Declan pressed a hand to the porch railing. The wood felt rough, real, anchoring. "Where is she?" he asked, voice broken. "St. Joseph Cemetery," Briar said. "East section." A long silence followed. From inside the house, Junie's small voice floated through the door, humming to herself, safe, unaware, alive. Briar glanced back at the door, then at Declan. "This house was hers," Briar said. "She left it to me. We took care of each other." Declan nodded slowly, tears burning but unspilled. "I should have been here," he said. Briar's voice softened. "Then don't waste the fact that you are now." She opened the door slightly. "Go," she said. "See her. We'll talk later." Declan nodded once. Not forgiven, not welcomed, but given something just as powerful, a chance. St. Joseph Cemetery was quiet in a way Declan had never paid for. No marble floors, no glass walls, just old trees, winter air, and the soft crunch of gravel beneath his shoes. He walked slowly, reading names, dates, lives reduced to lines. East section, 3rd row. He found her. "Marisol Sterling, beloved mother. Your love remains." The words blurred. Declan lowered himself to the ground, not collapsing, just surrendering. The stone was cold under his palm, real in a way nothing else had been in years. "I made it," he whispered, voice breaking. "I did everything you hoped I would." He laughed once, hollow. "And I missed the only thing that mattered." Memories came without permission. His mother tying his shoes before sunrise, her tired smile after double shifts, the way she pretended not to be worried when he talked about leaving. "I thought success would make me brave," Declan said. "Brave enough to come back." The wind moved through the trees, gentle, indifferent. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have chosen you first." For a long time he stayed there, breathing slowly, letting grief do its quiet work. When he finally stood, his legs trembled, but something else steadied him. Resolve. "I won't fix the past," he said softly, "but I'll protect what you left behind." He looked toward the city skyline beyond the cemetery walls. "This time," he promised, "I won't disappear." Declan didn't return to Hawthorne Row in a luxury car. He came back in something ordinary, blending into the street instead of towering over it. In his hands, he carried a small toolbox and a grocery bag. No logos, no excess. Junie spotted him from the porch and waved like she'd been waiting all morning. "It's you," she said happily. "Did you find cans?" Declan smiled. "Not today, but I brought something else." Briar opened the door slowly. Her expression was cautious, tired, but not closed. "I noticed the front step is loose," Declan said, keeping his voice calm. "If you want, I can fix it." No speeches. Briar studied him, then stepped aside. "Fix the step," she said, "and that's all." Declan knelt and worked quietly. He didn't rush. He didn't explain. He listened to the sounds of the house, Junie humming a kettle, heeding the soft rhythm of a home still holding itself together. When he finished, the step no longer wobbled. He set the grocery bag down gently. "Just basics," he said. "Soup, fruit, bread." Briar hesitated, pride flickering. Declan stepped back. "You don't have to say anything." Junie peeked inside the bag and gasped. Apples, Briar exhaled slowly. Thank you, she said, the words measured but sincere. Declan nodded. I'll leave. Junie frowned. Already Declan crouched to her level. I'll come back if your mom says it's okay. Junie looked at Briar. Briar paused, then nodded once. That's okay, she said. Declan left without celebration, and for the first time leaving didn't feel like running. Declan returned for small practical reasons. A dripping faucet, a cabinet hinge, a window that wouldn't close all the way, always with permission, always with Briar watching closely. Junie treated him like part of the routine, someone who belonged between school and dinner. One afternoon, she sat at the kitchen table coloring while Declan fixed a shelf. What do you do all day? She asked. Declan smiled. I make computer things. Junie nodded thoughtfully. Is that why you're busy? The word landed gently but deep. I used to be, Declan said. I'm trying not to be anymore. Junie looked up from her drawing. Busy people go away. Declan's hands stilled. Sometimes he said carefully, but good people come back. Junie considered that. My mom says coming back is harder. Declan nodded. She's right. Junie returned to coloring, then added quietly. I like when you fix things. Not loud things, quiet things. Declan felt his chest tighten. I can do quiet, he said. Junie smiled, satisfied. Okay. From the doorway, Briar watched the exchange. She didn't interrupt. She didn't soften completely. But something in her posture eased just a fraction. That night, as Declan packed his tools, Briar spoke. She asks about you, Briar said, when you're not here. Declan looked up. What do you tell her? Briar hesitated. I tell her you're learning. Declan nodded. I am. As he stepped onto the porch, Junie called out from inside, small and hopeful. See you next time. Declan's answer came without hesitation. Yes, he said. You will. And for the first time, the promise felt strong enough to stay. The afternoon light filtered through the kitchen window, soft and pale. Declan tightened the last screw on the cabinet hinge and stepped back, testing it once, then twice. Better, he asked. Briar nodded. Yes. One word. Polite. Controlled. Declan wiped his hands on a cloth and hesitated, feeling the weight of something unspoken pressing against his ribs. You don't have to keep letting me do this, he said quietly. Briar folded a towel with slow precision. I know. Then why do you? She stopped folding. Because the truth had been waiting for the right moment. Because Junie trusts you, Briar said. And because you haven't crossed a line. Declan met her eyes. If I do, tell me. Briar studied him carefully. I will. A pause stretched between them, tight but not hostile. You disappeared once, Briar continued. That kind of absence leaves marks. Declan nodded. I know. No, she corrected softly. You know it intellectually. You don't know what it feels like to explain absence to a child. The words hit harder than accusation. I'm trying to learn, Declan said. But I don't always know where the edge is. Briar exhaled. The edge is when help starts sounding like control. Declan frowned slightly. I'm not trying to, I know, she said, holding up a hand. That's why this is harder. From the table, Junie looked up from her drawing. Are you arguing? Both adults turned toward her instantly. No, sweetheart, Briar said gently. We're just talking. Junie considered this. Talking is okay, she declared, as long as nobody leaves. Declan felt something tighten painfully in his chest. I'm not leaving, he said without thinking. Briar's eyes flicked to him, sharp, searching. Don't say things you can't guarantee, she warned quietly. Declan swallowed. Then let me say this instead. I'm here today, and tomorrow, if you allow it. Junie smiled, reassured, and returned to her drawing. Briar watched her for a long moment. Then she looked back at Declan. "Stay in the present," she said. "That's where trust lives." Declan nodded slowly. For the first time, he realized that pride wasn't Briar's shield. It was her boundary, and if he crossed it, no amount of good intentions would save him. Declan stopped by a small neighborhood store on his way back the next day. He walked past shelves of expensive toys and novelty items and chose something simple. A 100-piece puzzle, a sunny park, bright sky. Nothing flashy. When he placed it on the kitchen table, Junie's eyes widened. "What's that A puzzle?" Declan said. "If you want." Junie tilted her head. "We've never done one." The sentence landed softly and stayed. Declan smiled gently. "Then we'll learn." He poured the pieces onto the table, showing her how to find the edges, how to turn pieces around, how sometimes things didn't fit on the first try. Junie leaned in, focused, serious, in the way only children could be. "I like this," she said. "It makes my head quiet." Declan felt his throat tighten. "Mine too." From the doorway, Briar watched, arms crossed, not defensive, just careful. Junie fit 2 pieces together and beamed. "Look, they belong," Declan nodded. "Some things do." Junie glanced up at him, expression suddenly thoughtful. "Do you belong somewhere?" The question wasn't sad. It was curious. Declan paused. "I think I'm figuring that out." Junie accepted the answer easily. "Okay." She returned to the puzzle, humming softly. Briar stepped closer. "You didn't have to bring this." "I wanted to," Declan said. "No big gestures, just time." Briar studied him. "Time is the hardest thing to give." "I know," he replied. "That's why I'm practicing." They worked quietly for a while, the only sounds the click of puzzle pieces and Junie's gentle humming. When it was time to pack up, Junie carefully placed the unfinished puzzle back in the box. "We can finish it next time," she said. Declan met her eyes. "Yes, we can." Briar watched the exchange closely, and for the first time she didn't interrupt. She simply allowed the moment to exist. It took weeks of gentle conversation before Briar agreed to see a specialist. No pressure, no arguments, just quiet persistence. Declan drove, waited, and said nothing unnecessary. The doctor spoke calmly, carefully, choosing words that informed without frightening. Briar listened with focus, asking practical questions, taking notes. Declan stayed silent until spoken to. Outside in the parking lot, Briar leaned against the car for a moment, breathing slowly. "It's serious," she said. "Not scared, just honest." Declan nodded, "But manageable." "Yes," Briar agreed, "with adjustments." Declan looked at her. "Tell me what you need." Briar hesitated. "I don't want rescue. I won't offer it," he said. "Only support." She studied his face, searching for certainty. "I can't work the way I used to," she said quietly. Declan didn't jump in with solutions. "What can you do without exhausting yourself?" he asked instead. Briar considered. "I can sew, repairs, simple things." Declan nodded. "Then that's where we start." Briar frowned. "Start what? Building something small," he said. "On your terms." She looked away, conflicted. "No charity? No charity?" Declan agreed. Partnership. They sat in silence, the weight of reality settling gently instead of crashing down. Later that night, Junie asked, "Did the doctor fix Mom?" Briar smiled and smoothed her hair. "The doctor is helping me take better care of myself." Junie nodded seriously. "That's good. I help too." Declan watched the exchange quietly. He finally understood. This wasn't a story about saving someone. It was about learning how to stand beside them without taking over, without stepping away. And that balance, he realized, was far harder than writing any check. The idea slipped out at the wrong moment. Declan hadn't planned it. He hadn't rehearsed it. It arrived the way habits do, quiet, confident, dressed as logic. "I was thinking," he said, standing near the counter while Briar rinsed a mug, "there's a place not far from the lake. Cleaner air, Fewer stairs. It might make things easier. Junie's head popped up instantly from the table. A new house, Declan froze. Briar turned slowly, her expression tightening, not with anger at first, but with alarm. Declan, she said carefully, not in front of her. Junie's eyes sparkled, imagination already running. Would it have a yard? Can I ride my bike? Declan opened his mouth, then closed it again. He'd made the mistake. He could feel it now, how fast hope could become pressure. Junie, Briar said gently, kneeling to her level, we're just talking. Nothing's decided. Junie nodded, satisfied for the moment, and returned to her crayons. Briar stood and faced Declan, her voice low but firm. You don't introduce change like that to a child. I was offering options, Declan said, trying to stay calm. Solutions. Briar shook her head. You were offering control. The words stung. That's not fair, Declan replied. I'm trying to reduce stress. Yours. Hers. And I'm trying to raise my daughter without teaching her that stability comes from someone else's wallet, Briar said, measured but intense. Declan's jaw tightened. You think this is about money, think it's about power, Briar answered. Unintentional maybe, but real. Junie glanced up, sensing the shift. Are you mad? Both adults softened instantly. No, sweetheart, Briar said. We're okay. Declan nodded. We're just learning. Junie accepted that and went back to coloring. Children often do, trusting adults to manage adult feelings. Briar turned back to Declan, her eyes steady. I need you to understand something, she said. Help that takes away choice isn't help. It's replacement. Declan ran a hand through his hair. I'm not trying to replace you. I know, she said. That's why this hurts. Silence stretched between them. I left my mother, Declan said quietly. I won't leave Junie. Briar's eyes hardened, not cruelly, but truthfully. Promises are easy. Staying is not. The sentence landed with the weight of lived experience. Declan felt the old instinct rise, the urge to defend, to prove, to fix. Instead, he swallowed. You're right, he said. I overstepped. Briar studied him, searching for performance. Finding none. Good, she said softly. Then learn from it. That night, Declan packed his tools without comment. On the porch, he paused. I'll give you space, he said, not distance. Briar nodded once. Inside, Junie's small voice floated out, Mr. Declan. Will you come back? Declan answered without drama. Yes, if your mom says it's okay. Briar closed the door gently. For the first time since returning, Declan walked away unsure, because doing this right meant surrendering control he'd always relied on. 3 days passed. Declan's penthouse felt louder than it ever had, every echo magnified by absence. He stared at the city lights and realized something unsettling. He didn't miss luxury. He missed a small kitchen, a puzzle half finished, a 5-year-old's quiet humming. He opened his laptop to distract himself and closed it again. Work felt irrelevant. Numbers felt thin. Instead, he took out a sheet of paper. Not an email, not a text, paper. He wrote slowly, deliberately. He didn't apologize for existing. He apologized for assuming. He wrote about his mother, about leaving, about confusing success with worth, about learning too late what presence actually costs. He wrote about Junie and how she'd taught him that promises were heavier when spoken softly. When he finished, the letter felt honest. Too honest. Declan folded it, then unfolded it again. Read it twice, then a third time, and set it down. Because something inside him said, don't use words to replace actions. The next morning, he drove toward Hawthorne Row, not to deliver the letter, but to leave it in the glove compartment. A reminder, not a weapon. As he turned onto the street, his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered without thinking. Mr. Sterling, a calm voice asked. This is Briar Quinn. Declan's chest tightened. I'm listening. There was a pause. Not panic, Just controlled urgency. I'm okay, Briar said. But I need help getting checked today. I don't want Junie scared. Declan didn't hesitate. I'm 5 minutes away. At the house, Junie sat on the couch holding her favorite book. Briar moved carefully, conserving energy. Declan knelt in front of Junie. Hey, we're going to see a doctor, just to check in. Junie nodded, brave. I can bring my book. That's perfect, Declan said. At the clinic, everything stayed calm. Briar answered questions. Doctors spoke gently. No alarms, no dramatics. Junie sat beside Declan, reading aloud in a whisper. When it was over, Briar leaned against the wall for a moment, eyes closed. Declan stood nearby, not touching unless invited. Thank you, Briar said quietly, for not making this a spectacle. Declan nodded. I'm learning. Back in the car, Junie asked from the back seat, Is Mom okay? Briar smiled softly. She's taking care of herself. Junie accepted that, then added thoughtfully, That's important. Declan glanced at Briar in the rearview mirror. She met his eyes and for the first time didn't look away. The letter stayed in the glove compartment. For now, actions were speaking clearly enough. That evening, the house felt quieter. Junie worked on the puzzle at the table, carefully sorting pieces by color. Briar rested on the couch, eyes closed but alert. Declan washed dishes slowly, letting routine do its quiet work. Then Briar's breathing changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just heavier. Declan noticed immediately. He dried his hands and moved closer, not panicked, not hovering. Briar, he said gently, do you want to sit up? She nodded. Just a moment. Junie looked up, sensing seriousness. Mom, I'm okay, Briar said calmly. Just tired. Declan crouched to Junie's level. Can you bring your mom her water? Junie did, careful and proud. Declan made a call, measured, professional, responsible. We're going to get checked again, he said, just to be safe. Junie's voice wavered slightly. Is it bad? Declan met her eyes, steady. No, it's caring. At the clinic, everything remained controlled. Briar was examined, adjustments were made. No fear was placed on Junie. While they waited, Junie leaned against Declan's arm, holding her book like a shield. She whispered the question that didn't sound dramatic, but landed like truth. If Mom falls asleep, can we keep her? Declan swallowed hard. He answered carefully, honestly, safely. Yes, he said. We're all staying together. Junie nodded, satisfied, and went back to reading. Briar watched the exchange, eyes glistening. Later, when Junie was distracted with stickers, Briar spoke softly to Declan. You didn't try to fix everything, she said. You didn't take over. Declan's voice was low. I stayed where you needed me. Briar nodded. That's new. They sat in silence, the kind that heals rather than separates. When they returned home, Junie insisted on placing one puzzle piece before bed. This one, she said, choosing carefully. It goes here. Declan watched her place it, slow, precise. Good choice, he said. Junie smiled sleepily. Some things take time. As Declan turned off the lights and stepped onto the porch, he realized something fundamental had shifted. He hadn't saved anyone. He hadn't redeemed himself with money or grand gestures. He had stayed quietly, imperfectly, consistently. And for the first time, staying felt like the hardest and most meaningful thing he had ever done. The morning was gray, and still the kind that made the neighborhood feel like it was holding its breath. Declan parked a block away again, habit now, not shame. In the glove compartment, the letter waited like a confession he wasn't sure he deserved to deliver. He touched it once, then left it there. He walked toward the house with nothing flashy, a small bag of groceries, a new pack of crayons, and a quiet intention to ask permission before doing anything else. Halfway up the sidewalk, he heard Junie's voice, high, urgent, not screaming, but sharp with that rare edge that only means one thing, Mr. Declan, please. Inside his heart stopped. He ran, not as a billionaire, not as a man with plans, just as someone who refused to be late again. The front door was slightly open. He stepped in and immediately softened his face, his tone, his movements. Junie stood near the kitchen doorway, small hands clenched around her book. Her eyes were wide, but she was steady, trying so hard to be brave. "My mom is... She's on the couch, and she won't answer me like normal," Junie said quickly. "She said she's tired, but she's too quiet." Declan didn't ask questions that would scare her. He didn't rush in with panic. He moved with calm, practiced care. Briar lay on the couch resting. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was shallow but present, more like deep exhaustion than anything dramatic. Still, Declan felt the old fear rise, the image of a hospital room he hadn't shown up for. He knelt beside Briar, spoke softly. "Briar, it's me. Can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered, not fully open, but enough to tell him she was there. Declan exhaled, relief controlled. "We're going to do a check-in," he said, calm and certain. "Just like last time. Quick and safe." Junie hovered in the doorway. "Is she going to be okay?" Declan turned to Junie and made sure his voice didn't shake. "Yes. We're taking care of her early. That's what strong teams do." Junie swallowed. "Can I come?" Declan glanced at Briar again. Her hand moved faintly, permission without words. "Yes," he said gently. "You stay close to me." He called for medical guidance the responsible way, no chaos, no reckless choices. Within minutes, a neighbor arrived to help carry bags and keep things calm. Declan thanked her quietly, the way people do in real neighborhoods. In the car, Junie sat in the back seat, with her book open, reading softly. Not because the words mattered, but because the sound of her voice made the world feel stable. At the clinic, staff spoke kindly and clearly. Briar was evaluated with privacy and dignity. Junie was given a small coloring page and crayons, something normal to hold on to. Declan sat beside her, letting her lean against his arm. After a while, a nurse returned and said gently, "Your mom is safe. She needs rest, and we're going to adjust her care plan." Junie's shoulders dropped with relief. Declan nodded once, swallowing the surge of emotion he didn't let spill. He remembered his mother's grave. He remembered the promise. And standing there, Junie safe at his side. Briar protected by professionals. Declan realized the real test wasn't whether he could show up once. It was whether he could keep showing up, especially when fear tried to drag him back into old habits. Later that evening, Briar was home again, tired but steady. The house was quiet the way it gets after something heavy passes through. Junie sat at the table, finishing the puzzle, humming. Declan moved around the kitchen, carefully making soup without asking for applause. When Junie went to wash up for bed, Briar spoke. "You didn't tell her anything scary," Briar said quietly. Declan nodded. "I told her the truth in a safe shape." Briar's gaze lowered to her hands. "Thank you." It should have ended there, simple gratitude, quiet peace. But then Briar added softer, almost like it hurt to admit, "I saw the bills today." Declan's chest tightened. "I didn't, I know," Briar interrupted gently. "Not you. The clinic sent copies, and the pharmacy receipts are stacking up." Declan stared at the countertop. The logical solution was burning in his mouth like a match. "I can cover it," he said carefully. "All of it. Without you lifting a finger." Briar's expression changed like a door closing. "There it is," she said. Declan frowned. "What?" "The way you offer help," Briar said quietly. "Like a lever, like a switch. Like I'm supposed to accept because you can." Declan tried to stay calm. "Briar, this isn't pride time. This is health." Briar's jaw tightened. "You think I don't know that?" He stepped closer, then stopped, remembering boundaries. "I'm not trying to control you," Declan said, voice low. "I'm trying to prevent you from carrying this alone." Briar's eyes glistened, but her voice stayed firm. "Then listen. Carrying alone is not the same as choosing for myself." Declan swallowed. "Tell me what choice looks like." Briar hesitated. That question asked sincerely cracked something open. Choice looks like being asked, Briar said. Not informed, not rescued. Declan nodded slowly. Okay. Briar studied his face, suspicious of how quickly he agreed. You say okay now, but your instincts are louder than your words. Declan exhaled. You're right. My instincts were built in boardrooms, not in kitchens. Briar's voice softened just a fraction. Your mother hated that. Declan flinched. Briar continued gently, not cruel, she wanted your presence, not your power. Silence fell. Junie's small footsteps padded down the hallway. Both adults softened instantly as she reappeared in pajamas, hair damp, carrying the puzzle box like it was precious. We're almost done, she announced proudly. Just 3 pieces, Declan forced a smile. That's amazing. Junie looked between them. Are you doing grown-up talking again? Briar kneeled and kissed her forehead. Yes, sweetheart. But it's okay. Junie nodded, then added with child logic that felt like a truth bomb wrapped in innocence. Just don't make Mom sad. And don't make you leave. Declan's throat tightened. I'm not leaving, he said softly. Briar looked at him, really looked, and this time her eyes didn't challenge him. They asked him to prove it. That night, after Junie fell asleep, Declan didn't go home. He sat alone at the kitchen table with a cup of tea he didn't drink, staring at the puzzle pieces Junie had lined up neatly beside the box. 3 pieces left. It felt symbolic in a way he didn't fully trust. He remembered Briar's words. Help that takes away choice isn't help. He remembered Junie's "Don't make you leave." Declan opened his phone not to transfer money, not to force a fix, but to learn. In the morning, he returned with a folder plain and simple, like it belonged to someone who understood humility. Briar looked at it with suspicion. What is that A proposal, Declan said, and you can say no. Briar raised an eyebrow. Try me. Declan sat only after she gestured to the chair. He slid the folder across the table but didn't push it. I spoke with a counselor and a lawyer. Not to trap you. To make sure this is clean, legal, and respectful. Briar didn't open it yet. Go on. Declan took a breath. Your house has value, even with repairs. I'm not offering a handout. I'm offering an investment. Briar's eyes narrowed. Investment, I buy a small share, Declan said carefully. You keep majority ownership, always. The money goes into an account in your name. You control it. It clears the most urgent medical costs and stabilizes the house expenses without making you feel like someone's charity project. Briar stared at him, stunned despite herself. Why would you do that? Declan's voice was quiet. Because it's my mother's home too. And because I want to stand beside you, not above you. Briar's fingers hovered over the folder, still hesitant. And what do you get? Declan didn't rush. A seat at the table, he said honestly. Not ownership of your life, just permission to be part of it if you choose. Briar finally opened the folder. The paperwork was clear, structured, respectful. No hidden hooks, no dramatic clauses. She read slowly, twice. Then she looked up, eyes wet but controlled. You made this complicated, Declan nodded, on purpose. Briar let out a shaky breath. You could have just paid everything, and you would have resented me, he said gently. And Junie would have learned that dignity has a price tag. Briar's gaze dropped. The truth hit. For a long time, she said nothing. Then very quietly, I need time. Declan nodded instantly. Take it. I'm not rushing you. From the hallway, Junie's sleepy voice drifted out. Mom Briar wiped her eyes and stood. Coming, sweetheart. Declan remained at the table, staring at the 3 remaining puzzle pieces. He wasn't fixing their lives with money. He was earning the right to stay piece by piece on their terms. And that, he realized, was the only kind of redemption that lasted. Briar didn't give an answer that night. She tucked Junie into bed, listened to her sleepy questions about school and puzzles, kissed her forehead, and turned off the light like she always did, carefully, deliberately, as if routine itself were a promise. Declan stayed quiet. He didn't follow Briar into the hallway. He didn't check his phone. He didn't look at the folder again. He sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the puzzle. 3 pieces left. They were small, almost insignificant on their own. 1 blue, 1 green, 1 oddly shaped piece with a bit of sunlight on it. Declan smiled faintly. Of course. Junie padded out of her room in socks a few minutes later, eyes half closed. I can't sleep, she murmured. Declan immediately stood. Do you want me to leave so it's quiet? Junie shook her head. No. Can I sit? She climbed onto the chair beside him without waiting for permission. Her gaze landed on the puzzle. We're almost done. Yes, Declan said softly. Almost. Junie picked up one of the pieces, turned it around a few times. Sometimes I save the best ones for last. Declan watched her small hands steady and sure. Why, Junie shrugged. Because then you don't rush. She placed the piece carefully into the puzzle. It clicked into place. 2 pieces left. Briar appeared in the doorway, watching silently. Junie yawned. Mom Briar stepped forward. Yes, sweetheart, can Mr. Declan stay for the last 2 pieces tomorrow? Junie asked sleepily. They're special. The question wasn't dramatic. It wasn't fearful. It was hopeful. Briar's eyes flicked to Declan, then back to Junie. Yes, she said finally. He can stay. Junie smiled, satisfied, and leaned against Declan's arm for a moment before Briar guided her gently back to bed. When Junie was gone, the house felt different, lighter. Briar walked to the table and looked at the puzzle. 2 pieces, she said. Declan nodded. I'm not touching them. Briar exhaled a slow, tired sound that carried weeks of fear and strength inside it. I read everything she said. The proposal. Twice. Declan waited. I don't feel bought, Briar continued. I feel considered. Declan closed his eyes briefly, but she added firm again, this only works if you understand something. He met her gaze. Tell me, this doesn't make you Junie's savior, Briar said. It makes you someone who chose to stay. Declan nodded. That's all I want to be. Briar studied him for a long moment. Then quietly, we'll talk more tomorrow. Not a yes. Not a no. But not a wall either. And for Declan, that was everything. Morning light spilled into the kitchen, soft and golden. Declan woke early, not because he had somewhere to be, but because he wanted to be present when the day began. He brewed coffee for Briar, warm milk for Junie, and waited. Junie burst into the kitchen like sunlight itself, already dressed, hair only half brushed. Today's the day, Briar smiled faintly. Good morning to you too. Junie ran straight to the table. 2 pieces. Declan pulled out the chair for her. Ready, Junie nodded solemnly. She picked up the second to last piece, studied it carefully, then placed it gently. It fit. 1 piece left. Junie paused. This one is tricky, she said seriously. Briar leaned against the counter, watching with quiet attention. Junie turned the final piece once, then twice. She frowned. It doesn't go yet. Declan didn't help. He didn't suggest. He waited. Junie tried again. Slower this time. Click. The puzzle was complete. Junie clapped her hands softly. We did it. Declan smiled. Yes, together. Junie looked between the 2 adults. So, what happens now? Briar walked to the table and placed her hand flat beside the puzzle. What happens now, she said gently, is that we keep going, one day at a time. Junie nodded, satisfied. Then Briar turned to Declan. I accept, she said. Declan's breath caught. You do, I accept the partnership, Briar clarified. Not because I need saving, because I choose stability for Junie and for myself. Declan nodded, emotion pressing hard against his ribs. Thank you for trusting me. Briar met his eyes. Don't thank me yet. Trust is something you maintain. He smiled faintly. I'm learning that. Junie hugged the puzzle box. Does this mean Mr. Declan stays? Briar hesitated only a second. It means he's part of our lives. Junie beamed. Later, as Declan stepped onto the porch to leave for the first time that morning, Briar followed him. You don't have to go so fast, she said. Declan paused. I don't want to assume. Briar considered that. Then opened the door wider. Stay for breakfast, she said. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, but it was the clearest invitation she'd given him yet. And as Declan stepped back inside, he knew something fundamental had changed. He wasn't standing at the edge anymore. He was finally carefully, respectfully inside. Breakfast was simple. Toast, eggs, a small bowl of sliced apples. Nothing impressive, nothing loud. And yet it felt like a ceremony, one that didn't need words to be understood. Junie sat between them, swinging her feet under the chair, narrating her plans for the day, with the confidence of someone who believed tomorrow would arrive exactly as promised. Briar listened with a soft smile, correcting gently, laughing quietly. Declan watched the scene the way people watch something they don't want to forget. After breakfast, Junie carried the finished puzzle to the living room and placed it on the low shelf beneath the window. So it can see the sun, she explained. Declan nodded. Good thinking. She turned to him, serious again. You're not busy today, right? He smiled. Not today. Satisfied, Junie ran outside to draw with chalk on the sidewalk, bright colors blooming on gray concrete. Briar and Declan stood at the window, shoulder to shoulder, not touching. Comfortable. You know, Briar said quietly, I was afraid of this. Of me, Declan asked. Of needing, she replied. Of letting someone stay long enough to matter. Declan nodded. I was afraid too. Of staying and failing. Briar met his eyes. We'll fail sometimes. Then we'll fix what we can, he said, and sit with what we can't. Outside, Junie looked up and waved. Come see. They stepped onto the porch together. Junie had drawn 3 figures holding hands. One tall, one medium, one small. Is that us? Declan asked. Junie nodded. It's not finished yet. Briar raised an eyebrow. What's missing? Junie added a small sun in the corner. That. They stood there for a moment, the neighborhood quiet, ordinary, alive. Declan felt something settle inside him, something he'd chased for years without knowing its shape. It wasn't forgiveness from the past. It wasn't control over the future. It was presence. Briar broke the silence. We'll take things slowly. Declan smiled. I prefer it that way. Junie tugged his sleeve. You can help me wash the chalk later. I'd be honored, he said. As the afternoon light softened, Declan realized the truth his mother had tried to teach him, the truth. Briar had protected the truth Junie lived without effort. Love wasn't proven by grand gestures or endless giving. It was proven by showing up again and again and again without trying to own what you hadn't earned. That evening, as Declan prepared to leave, Briar stopped him at the door. You can come back tomorrow, she said. He didn't rush to answer. He didn't promise forever. I'll be here, he said simply. And for the first time in a long life of success and absence, that sentence meant exactly what it said. Did this story move your soul? Share your feelings in the comments and rate it from 1 to 10. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then tap the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Click the end screen to watch another heartfelt video. See you in the next story.